does this have to be done now, or does, because it sounds like I would just be transferring it to the next clerk we have. I
So
don't
right now, we don't
know.
really have a full-time clerk, and while we are in transition, things could probably change. Maybe they won't, but for the time being, would you be willing to take this position? I will relinquish that authority in its entirety to you because you are on the personnel committee.
I don't have a problem doing that as long as, you know, it gets transferred to the right person when we have that person.
That's correct. So at this time, then, I would like to amend this resolution 77, in which I am taking my name off of it, and also Mr. Dilge's name, and it's going to be handled by Matthew Olson, our city councilman.
Well, we need a second person, and that was Nelson Dilch on.
Fine. Then Mr. Dilge can be the second person. They're both on the personnel committee.
Yes.
So that's fine. And what happens in the event, Mr. Lefty, that one of the two of the members of council, let's just say hypothetically, an employee is filing a grievance against one of the members of council and they're on this committee here, then what? Then it gets forwarded over to me, I would say.
Well, that's a whole different issue, and you have a personnel policy manual that outlines what happens to those types of issues. I wanted Mr. Olson and Mr. Dilge to know that I am also available to them to help them with any of these issues to the extent that they would want me to be involved. Again, this is just to get it right so that the issues don't fester into something that it shouldn't.
That's correct. All right, so I have made an amendment to have Mr. Olson as the contact person, and for the secondary, it would be Mr. Dilge. So I make the motion for resolution 77. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I don't know if you should, because you could be a conflict with that second, or not, Mr. Lafferty.
I'll second.
That resolves the issue.
Okay. So there's a motion, there's a second. Do we need a roll call on this, or should it just simply be all in favor?
I don't think you need a roll call on this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Moving over, we've already taken care of resolution 78. We now have resolution number 79.
I don't think you adopted resolution 78.
Yeah, that was done during the bill list. We had a motion.
Yes, that was the bill list is what we did.
Everyone voted yes on that, on 78, 2020.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, 79, rather basic, simple to do. I make the necessary motions for approving the Atlantic County radio network system upgrades and participation agreement. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving down the line here, we have resolution number 80. And that is for the applicant's resolution for local government emergency fund. I brought this to the attention, and the purposes of, we have not operated our court for a while, but yet we still continue to pay salaries, correct? So the court wasn't in function over here for a good couple of months or better, and we should be able to have some retrievable funds given back to us from this piece of from the CRF grant that could be available. Mr. Moore, are there any other areas of where you have thought of beyond what I have said?
I discussed this with Teresa during the deputy tax collector here, and she was keeping track of it, of the records, because she was purchasing the items for like the gloves and masks, and we had to buy a device for spraying the building, cleaning materials. She was working some overtime to help clean the building, and then we're paying the janitor service to come in here and spray the building. And right now we have approximately $5,000 in total. I'll look at the court costs. So maybe 6,000. We can put in for up to 21,000, but I didn't think we'd even hit 5,000. So we're probably right around 6,000 or 7,000 at the most. but it does cover everything from here until December 31st of this year.
And what about FEMA? I thought that like this, that fogger that we bought and several other things with the PPE, I thought that all came under FEMA. Now it comes under this instead?
Well, there is FEMA money available, and some towns are going for it, but in the guidelines of this project, or this project, I should say, or program, it clearly says that you can't receive FEMA money and then ask for money through this. It has to be one or the other. So if we got FEMA money, or we were going to that route, then we couldn't do some of this. But we did not go there yet. We talked about it.
What is your opinion? Will this be a faster way, a faster
yes.
means to retrieve our funds?
Well, I say yes. It's through the state instead of federal government. So I would say that it's yes. I mean, once we turn in the application, which is very simple, I've already started on it. And it has to be in by November 10th of next Tuesday, then they're gonna approve it or amend it, whatever. And then we're gonna have to probably turn in the invoices and things like, the bills, and then they're gonna reimburse us.
Probably you should put in for the extra hours or whatever that you've had to put in as well, Mr. Moore. I mean, honestly, I think you put in more time with what you've been doing, just following up on all the stuff here.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Okay. I make the necessary motion to adopt Resolution 80, 2020. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Next, we have Resolution 81. That is to authorize the sale of a particular piece of property that we were in question of last month, that being on Route 50. S8, Lot 1.
Mr. Mayor, can I address that?
Yes.
Here's the situation. This property abuts a property owned by Paul Castaldi, who holds his property in the name of Black Label Holdings, LLC. So he wrote to the city and he offered $1,000 for the purchase of a lot. He has purchased previously other lots adjacent to this lot, but this one lot was sandwiched in between his lots and lots owned by a family by the name of Adi. And I'm assuming that the reason this lot was not included in the prior sale was because it would implicate an adjacent property owner, which makes things more complicated because you're severely restricted to fair market value. So, unlike where there's no other adjacent property owner involved, you're restricted to fair market value, not a negotiated fair market value. And in order to get a fair market value, the land is assessed at $2,600, but it's certainly not worth that, at least according to Mr. Mancini, but he's not going to say that because he's the assessor that assessed it at $2,600. So if you were going to do it by way of a private sale, you would have to get an appraisal, which are costly. And in order to avoid that, the way to do that is by way of a public bid, where anybody can bid on this property. I doubt that I'm told that Mr. Adi has no interest in the property, but when the bid comes in, City Council will receive that bid and you have the reservation of right to reject all bids or accept them. So presumably when the bid comes in, that will be the fair market value if it's acceptable to City Council. So the whole purpose of this is to avoid the appraisal expense, because between the appraisal expense and the legal expense, in reality, you're probably exceeding the value of the property. So the resolution provides that the successful bidder will pay to the city, in addition to whatever bid they make, $500 for administrative, publication, and legal fees. So you need to. I've met with Mr. Moore, we have established a timetable for for this bidding process so that it will be completed before your next meeting. And any bid received will be presented to you at your December meeting.
So with regards to this resolution here, would it be prudent that really somewhere within here, it should say what the assessed, amount is and what the reserved amount is going to be?
Well, it's not-
We have a document here that has no figures on it.
I understand that. And you're doing it with reserve to reject all bids, any and all bids. There's no minimum bid on this. And listen, if the bid doesn't meet your level of acceptance, you reject it, that's all.
So, all right, so we have to stipulate that with moving forward with this resolution, I make the necessary motion to, support resolution number 81, pertaining to block S8, lot 1, in which this property is assessed at $2,600, did you say?
Well, that's what the assessment is, but
Okay, with the, assessed amount of $2,600.
that doesn't, no, the assessed value has nothing to do with it. The motion is to offer the property for public sale at auction.
We don't, but it's not necessary to have the, amount.
No,
Okay, fine. If you say that that's what it is, I thought it would be, but I still hold, with making the motion to support resolution number 81. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, or this has to be roll call?
I have
Roll
a
call,
question.
please.
I have a question.
Yes.
$2,600, I mean, it is a point of reference, Mr. Lafferty, it is a point of reference, that's why you have to go. Mr. Mancini made this in practical terms, it's still something of a point of reference. So you don't guide that we can put any reserve on this at all?
no, you reserve the right to reject all.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So is there any further discussion? If not, I'm gonna, call for the roll call. Roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Dilch,
Yes,
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Miss Owens,
Yes.
Miss Sparks,
yes,
Mayor Benesia.
Yes. Moving down to resolution 82, 2020, where the acting clerk was responsible for election day, and he's asking for compensation of $400 for the services that were rendered, which he was here the entire duration. He started, what, 5 o'clock yesterday?
I was here about 4:15 a.m. till
you need
about
to correct the time.
8:45.
You need to correct the time on that, Mr. Moore. It says 4:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., it should be 8:30 p.m.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. See, I was tired writing that.
Okay, so I make the necessary motion to adopt resolution 82. Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Dilch,
Yes,
Mr. Owen,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Miss Olson, Miss
Yes.
Owen,
Yes.
Miss Sparks,
yes,
Mayor Benesia.
Yes. Moving down the line here, we have resolution 83, the best practices inventory, that the city does annually every year. I think this actually started under the, Christie administration. It's been staying on, I guess, probably indefinitely, but, I read over all this year. Seemed like it was all pretty common sense. It was all there. Does anybody have any, well, you know what, let me move it forward first so we can get into discussion. I make the necessary motion to, support resolution 83. Is there a second?
second.
Is there any discussion on this item here? I'm not hearing any. I think this one here should be done by roll call. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dilch,
Yes,
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Miss Owen,
Yes.
Miss Sparks,
yes,
Mayor Benesia.
Yes. Mr. Moore, I did ask to have, this Finance Municipal Council resolutions they did, and I wanted to have that as a resolution on our agenda tonight. That didn't really make it that way. I'm going to assume that all the members of council had it, and I would like to, adopt this resolution tonight. and we would send it over to, the Pinelands Commission. We're gonna send it over to the, Senate Budget Committee,
Where is it?
the Senate Budget Committee. We're going to, forward this over to the Assembly Budget Committee.
Where is it? Where can it be found?
Didn't you receive a copy of the, Pinelands Municipal Council's resolution?
Not that I can recall.
I don't remember sending it out to him.
Everybody was supposed to have a copy of this.
I don't know what happened. I got noticed that when Mr. Mallon was here that he received it. So I don't know if he sent it or not.
Mr. Dilge, basically what this is the Pinelands Municipal Council, we met last week, and we all unanimously agreed to support a resolution. And we were asked to take this back to our prospective governing bodies in support of pilot funding. That's basically what it is. And the thrust of it is basically that the cut of the payment is going to affect each and every one of our municipalities, because we had it in our budget that we were going to receive $190,000. And instead, they rescinded that after we've already adopted our budget that was approved by DCA, of all people. And now the governor wants to cut it back down to 123. Well, we've got it in our budget that we're gonna have $190,000 of revenue, and now it's 123. So we're asking, if not somewhat demanding, that we want this placed back into our fund. Pretty common sense, cut and dry.
Mayor, I'm sure that you're stating it clearly and accurately, and it probably reflects everything that you just said, but I think we're started down a bad road if we make a practice out of voting resolutions we haven't even seen. I need to see it.
Do you want me to read it? I can read it very briefly. Okay? I'll read it very briefly. But I think that we need to get this out right away. We don't want to wait on this. This is Resolution 2021 for the Municipal Council, opposing State of New Jersey to cut pilot payments under the Garden State Preservation Trust Act after municipal tax rates have been set. Whereas the Garden State Preservation Trust Act was signed into law on June the 30th, 1999, and extended payments in lieu of taxes to the municipalities in which lands are purchased or held by the state or conservancies for recreational or conservational purposes by constitutionally dedicated money, so that municipalities do not suffer a loss of taxes due to state acquisition of lands. And whereas this New Jersey Pinelands is a unique ecological and cultural area with extensive wetlands, vast oak pine forest, and diverse species of plants and animals. And whereas the natural resources within the Pinelands are a treasure to be enjoyed by all citizens of New Jersey, and the cost to protect and preserve this region are for the greater good of the entire state and should not be borne upon the local residents solely. And whereas the state of New Jersey in 2010 reduced its constitutionally dedicated funding by 1/3 in order to meet budgetary constraints, which reductions have remained in place for a decade. And whereas municipalities have unfairly borne the additional cost of preservation of the entire state, and as additional state acquisitions have added to these costs by depleting the tax base of these municipalities, the impact of these costs have escalated. And whereas in this year's budget, the state of New Jersey restored the funding to the municipalities, and municipal budgets and tax rates were certified based on this funding. And whereas on October 1st, 2020, a local finance notice for the first time alerted municipalities that the restored funding would not be funded, and the municipalities have now no way to recoup those cuts since the budgets and tax rates are already certified. And whereas the funding cuts will result in immediate deficits in anticipated revenue that municipalities are no longer in a position to fill, and will also result in the loss of municipal services and reduction in public safety in the midst of a pandemic. And two more whereases, and that's it. And whereas the Pinelands Municipal Council serves as a sounding board among 53 municipalities within the state designated Pinelands area, and is charged with the responsibility of addressing issues affecting the Pinelands and Pinelands municipalities. And whereas the reduction of any funding is contrary to the terms of the Garden State Preservation Trust Act, and the reduction of funding this year after advising funding would be fully restored, and the municipal tax rates have been set and contrary to the law and unprecedented. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Pinelands Municipal Council urges State of New Jersey to restore the entirety of the funding promised to the municipalities through the constitutionally dedicated money in order to adequately provide services and public safety to the residents of our municipalities and to prevent an unfair and irreparable negative impact on these municipalities. Everybody good with that? Is council there?
Mr. Dilge, you're on mute.
Thank you. I would second the motion to support that statement exactly as read.
Going into a discussion, Randy, if I may ask, should we just simply change the second to the last whereas where it says, whereas the Pinelands Municipal Council, should we have that and also include the city of Estell Manor? I think we should do that.
How is it going to read, Mayor?
The second from the last, it says, whereas the Pinelands Municipal Council serves as a sounding board among 53 municipalities, should we also incorporate Estell Manor so that we are taking a positive stand with this, along with the Pinelands Municipal Council? I think that we should.
Well, why don't you just add, and the city of Estell Manor supports that function, or something like that?
Okay. All right, so in this portion here, we'll just simply say, whereas the Pinelands Municipal Council serves as a sounding board among the 53 municipalities within the state designated Pinelands area and is in charge with responsibility of addressing issues affecting the Pinelands and Pinelands municipalities in which Estell Manor supports this.
Supports
Supports the resolution.
yes.
Supports this pilot resolution. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just write that down, Mayor.
All right, so there's a motion, there's a second. Can we have a roll call?
Mr. Dilge,
Yes.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Ms. Sparks,
Yes.
Mayor Benesia.
Yes. Thank you, guys. This is very important. Moving down, we have department reports. Quite frankly,
And Mayor, can I ask a question before you get out of resolutions? Do I have
Sure.
authority to send the resolution 81-2020 to the two affected property owners?
repeat that again, Randy. Can you have the authority to send the resolution to the two property owners that are looking to purchase these properties?
No, the one that's going to auction. There are two adjacent property owners. I want to send the resolution to each of those property owners so they're aware that the property is being offered.
I think that would definitely be in order that you should do that.
I can do that.
Okay. I was actually going to call you on that tomorrow to say that I think you should include both of them, but I'm glad we're doing it now.
I wouldn't do both of them.
Okay. We're now into department reports. And it seems like the only one that I have in department reports, I don't have a tax collector, I don't have a fire company, I don't have the zoning officers, I don't even have the municipal clerk's office report. I have no reports other than the public works report.
Yes, I'm waiting on the court, the tax collector. I have a financial report I can give you for the clerk. The fire company turned it in yesterday along with the zoning officer. So they're sitting on the desk in there. I'd have to make copies and send that out. The problem is the meetings are right after the end of the month, and it's difficult to get reports, especially when some of the people are part-time. They come here on a Wednesday, so tonight is the meeting. So as soon as I get them, I'll get them out to you.
Why don't we do this? If we're gonna have a meeting next week, why don't we, a special meeting, why don't we have those reports within our meeting as well?
Okay.
All right? I don't like to have a whole pile of reports to do a meeting. You know, I'd like to get them out on a monthly basis rather than having them pile up, and then you got 2 months of reports to agree. Getting into the public works report, I'm just curious. I see that we had to get some keys made for the public works gate. How many people in fact have the key to the gate? I have one. Who else has a key to the gate, and what were the purpose of, making extra keys? Can someone tell? I'd like to hear from Public
I
Works.
received a key to the gate and a key to the building, both.
I don't have a key to the building. I
Pardon?
don't have a key to the building.
I asked Mr. Cornu for one. I'm not giving you.
So, we had extra keys that were made for the gate, so did anybody, who all has a key to the gate? It's a good idea to know what keys are floating around out there.
Well, I'll explain to you what would happen in my case. After Isaias, whatever it was called, that storm on August 4th, we left a lot of roadblocks up in the city. I went around on a day when Public Works doesn't typically work and when they had put in a lot of extra time during the emergency. I went around and picked up all those barricades with my own truck, and then I went over to the Public Works yard and left them outside the fence because I didn't have a key to the gate and City Hall was not open at the time. And so then the next day, Public Works came in and they had to move all that stuff inside the fence, and it probably took somebody an hour to do it, when it would have been far easier for me to just pull in the yard and drop them in there, and then nobody would have had it. So I asked for a key to the fence and to the building, and Mr. Cornu gave it to me.
Why didn't you
Actually,
call
he just knew
me?
that I had had one for all this time.
Why didn't you call me when you know that I got a key? I would have been glad to let you use it.
But you said your phone didn't work.
Did you try calling me?
Yeah, many times. I had to go to your house, remember?
Why didn't you get a key then?
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
Moving along here, I do see something here about quotes for garage doors. Is that really necessary that we have to get new garage doors? I mean, when I was told what the price is going to be, I think it's kind of a lot of money. And I believe that a gallon of paint could certainly make them things look brand new again.
It's not gonna make them work any better or make them any more.
No, it's not gonna make them work any better, but what is wrong with the
We put
doors?
the capital budget, and Mr. Cornu got the, and they would like to have new doors. They would like to have the first two big overhead doors with electric operators, so that it's less strenuous for a person to open them and close them, and less dangerous, especially for them to close them. The doors are as old as the building. I couldn't agree more that they need to be replaced. I'm challenged to understand why we're even having the discussion. Those doors don't owe us a dime.
It's not a question of owing us a dime. I mean, you know, I heard somewhere along the line it's gonna cost about $10,000 to replace them. Is that true?
Well, you said you saw it. What are the prices if you looked at them?
I didn't see anything. I was just simply told by, one of the guys over there that work, or one of our employees.
I think they got a couple of alternative bids. One was for replacing all five with the first two with electric operators and a new entry door, or two new entry doors. The entry doors need to be replaced immediately, both of them. And I think that the alternate price was just for two new doors with electric operators and two new entry doors. The one entry door doesn't even, you can't even get in and out of the back door. The front door has been, knocked out of square for a very long time. And the first two doors, I mean, not to mention, the doors don't hold heat at all. It's just, this goes back to 2 years ago. We started with this. This was part of the whole $200,000. Are we gonna have to get a bond, or can we do it out of?
So we have 5 overhead doors that you're talking about that you wanna get replaced.
Correct,
And they're gonna be insulated doors, and they're gonna be lightweight doors
correct.
with electric.
On two of them. Electric operators on two of them, not all five, just on two.
Mr. Delge, when I talked to Jeff, I told him, get a price for all of them and see if we can't get them all done. If it's okay with council, that way it's done and over with. The thing with electric doors on Public Works garage is that when you pull open the door or pull it down, you have a risk of injury and back injury, workers' comp claims, so that's why you see electric on all the doors. But again, that's your final decision. And the funds are available in our capital, buildings, and ground budget. I'm just waiting for a price, a quote, so then we can put it to a resolution and approve it.
Okay, and then one
Oh,
other thing.
actually, Mrs. Owen, this is your building. You got anything to say?
You're on mute. Ms. Owen, you're on mute.
I had this all along.
Thank you. No, I think we should entertain getting the quotes and make a decision from there. Nothing's wrong with getting quotes for it.
Yeah, I told Jeff to get a couple quotes, and he was working on it.
What happens if the electric is off?
All right, and then I did have one other question, install a speed limit sign,
You
did somebody
can-
steal one of our signs
Oh, okay.
again? For a speed limit sign?
I don't know if they stole it, I just know that they installed one.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to it.
Very good. Well, motion to accept the Public Works report. There's a second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
I